We are now happy to be joined via Skype with one of our favorite people, ESPN's lead college basketball analyst, Jay Bilas, who also did the NBA draft. Jay, how are you?
I'm doing great, Matt. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you very much for coming on. Let's talk first about the draft. Kentucky had 3 players picked in the first round: P.J. Washington, Tyler Hero, Keldon Johnson. All 3 went to Charlotte, Miami, and San Antonio. What do you think about where they went in the draft and how they'll do at the next level?
Well, I'm a big fan of all 3. I think that PJ is going to do really well in Charlotte. It's a really good organization, and I think he fits in there really well. They're a playoff team, and I think he'll go in there and perform at a high level. He's a really good, talented player. Tyler, he can step into the league and stretch the floor. It'll be interesting to see how much he plays early on, because even though he did a really good job defensively and getting better last year, it's an even bigger step up. And then Keldon going to San Antonio, he's got another sort of versatile skill set. He's not maybe the most spectacular of athletes, but he's athletic. He's not the best shooter, but he can shoot it. He does pretty much everything well, and I think he's gonna do very well in San Antonio.
Those 3 guys have been part of a long history of Calipari and UK sending people to the draft. And one of the things I like about you, you always give your opinion even when it's controversial. And there's been some controversy here in Kentucky about one of the opinions you had about where guys go to school. Do you think that these top athletes coming out of high school, if they go to Kentucky, Duke, Carolina, Kansas, that's where they should go? Or do you think it doesn't matter where these elite athletes go in order to make it in the NBA?
It always matters where you go. It matters who you play for. Of course it matters. But the truth is, the best players are going to be the best players no matter where they go. And it doesn't mean coaches don't do a good job of helping players get better. John Calipari, it's not that he just sort of figured things out once he got to Lexington. He's recruiting better players. Did John just decide he wasn't gonna do as good of a job with Nick Richards as he did with some of the other guys, or he decided that P.J. Washington, this year I didn't do as good a job developing pros because I didn't have as many top 5 picks as I usually do. It doesn't work that way, and it never has, and it never will. It's just the idea of they've recruited a lot of great players. They've done a great job of winning with them, and they've done a great job of helping them get better.
But Jay, is it possible that, so Zion Williamson, I think if he goes to Clemson, he's a huge pro. Ben Simmons was the first pick from LSU. But is it possible a guy like Tyler Hero or Shea Alexander or even Devin Booker, that some of those guys who are maybe a notch below the elite, if they play at Duke, if they play at Kentucky, if they play against top talent with coaches that know how to develop, they can take them from a good player to a great player and then maybe a draft pick?
I'm not suggesting that players don't get better when they go to Duke or Kansas or all these places. Of course they do. But I go back to my original point. John didn't all of a sudden, become a developer of pros when he got to Kentucky, and he didn't know what he was doing at Memphis. He quote unquote produced more pros at Memphis than he did at UMass. But when he was with the Nets, did he decide not to produce all-stars? He's recruiting superstar talent. So's Coach K. And I don't think any rational, reasonable person would put coaches alongside each other and say, okay, well, Coach K does a better job producing lottery picks than John Calipari does. But it is funny that folks took a tweet out or something that was said in response to Jerry Tipton and make it about Kentucky only. It's about every coach. There is no coach that produced NBA players. They don't.
If that were true, wouldn't the high school rankings then be the exact same as the draft? And take Chris Beard at Texas Tech. He made Zaire Smith and Jarrett Culver, 2 guys who were never really considered top players, end up top 10 picks in back-to-back years. It's just hard for me to believe that a program or a coach doesn't play some role in that.
Well, I think you're taking it a little bit far on this and conflating some issues. First of all, the high school rankings are not right, and they've never been right. They're never able to peg these things. Doesn't mean that it's going to be in that order or everybody's going to be a pro. Of course that's not true. You can't somehow say, well, Bob McKillop made Stephen Curry into a pro. So he just decided to do it with that one guy and hadn't done it since. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. And look, I get what everybody's talking about. John Calipari, he's taken young players and done something I never thought could happen. He's turned young teams into championship teams. Back when everybody started recruiting all these one-and-done freshmen, and he and Coach K over the last 10 years have probably done as well as anybody.
Jay Bilas, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it on your summer break, and we'll talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks a lot.